I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. Man, I dig those rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage bronc and buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. I started singing bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone, but that's not how it used to be. When the jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And while Lennon read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang dirges in the dark the day the music died. We were singing bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter-skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. 8 miles high and falling fast. It landed foul on the grass. The players tried for a forward pass, with the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume, while the sergeants played a marching tune. We all got up to dance, oh, but we never got the chance, 'cause the players tried to take the field. The marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? We started singing bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. And as the flames climbed high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight. The day the music died, he was singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken, and the three men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast. The day the music died, and they were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. They were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away, knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out a cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the deal is done.
And that was Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, and Don McLean, American Pie. Both very good songs. What songs I've actually been listening to, I guess, a tad bit more lately. But fantastic songs, everybody. And yeah, as always, over at Mradio. And welcome to episode 12 of the God Mode Monday talk show on Mradio, and only on Mradio. But soon enough, you will be hearing us on Spotify and SoundCloud. But that is an announcement for later on in the day. If you haven't already, do make sure to check out all the other Mradio social medias, Twitter and Instagram, the only Mradio, and Twitch and YouTube at Radio. And also, if you want some ads or you want some airtime, be a radio host like myself, you can check all those out on the Mradio Discord. Either way, let's get right into the show. We have so much news this week. It's kind of unnerving. Some weeks we have no news, so we just kind of ramble on. But this week we actually have quite a lot of news. But as always, we'll start the show off with what I played this week. And I played a good bit of games. One thing that I've played more of this week than I have in a couple of weeks, it was actually GTORP, or as some of the OGs might know it as 5M. I'm actually quite surprised that a lot of people don't know it's called 5M. I had a person come up to me the other day. It was actually yesterday. And they were talking about, wait, do you know this thing like on GTORP? It's like something M, something else, like 5M. It's like, yeah, that's like a separate thing from GTORP. And I'm like, no. It's not. It's kind of weird that so many people don't know that 5M is GTORP, and that's why I'm kind of always hesitant of saying 5M instead of GTORP, because a lot of people who actually watch GTORP on Twitch, they don't know it's called GTORP. They don't know that, which is kind of surprising. Either way, I played a lot of 5M this week. I managed to get myself into a whitelisted server along with Mradio. If you're interested in hearing more about that, you can go on to the Mradio Twitter or Discord, basically Twitch or P. Been over there for a while, and it's just really creative over there. It's kind of a new freshness. It's so cool over there. But along with that, I played a little bit of Red Dead 2 this week. Once again, you gotta get your weekly Red Dead, and if you don't get your weekly Red Dead in, you're gonna be mad for the rest of the week. Okay, and that's a fact of life right there. And along with that, I didn't really play that many games this week. Those are really the only two games. I was thinking about playing Left 4 Dead 2, because I got gifted it like a few weeks ago and I haven't played it. But next week, or this next weekend, I'm going to be playing that, maybe streaming it. And Left 4 Dead 2, it's kind of a new experience for me, because I've always kind of stayed away from zombie games that aren't like, story independent. Like if it's not something like Last of Us or Days Gone, I kind of veer away from zombies simply because I'm not the hugest fan of of zombies overall. I did like Zombieland. Like I like movies like based on zombies, and I like some games. But really, I think one of the main attractions for zombie games is the story behind them, not the actual zombies. I don't find zombies fascinating at all. I find them quite aggressive actually. So yeah, it's just zombies aren't for me unless it's something like Joel and Ellie's story going on. And Last of Us 2, I have to say my praise is only for Last of Us 1. For anyone out there, I'm not praising Last of Us 2. If you're wondering why, and then I'll just have a look at any review out there that's not from a biased corporation. But either way, let's not get into that argument because that will keep us here for days. The first little bit of news on the docket, and there's actually quite a lot of news on this game. It's Cyberpunk 2077. Now this has been all over the place nearly, and simply for the fact that it's got delayed so many times and people are really looking forward to it. Like, this was meant to be the game of the year. Okay, people were like, this is the game of the year. We're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. It's so cool. It's basically, it's like a new twist on the open world. And apparently it's meant to compete with even Rockstar on open world and open world design. So personally, I want to see it. We'll be talking more about this and whether personally I'll be buying it. And we've loads of news on Cyberpunk, because this week's the Cyberpunk just went off in news. But it was delayed a few weeks ago. A lot of people are, mad about that. And then there's a huge amount of memes on Cyberpunk since because Cyberpunk is everywhere. There's actually a picture of Joe Biden and Cyberpunk banner is in the background. It's like Cyberpunk is everywhere. But personally, I'm really excited for this game. I've seen a few of the gameplay trailers. That was a few days ago. I saw story trailers, cinematic trailers, and personally, the game looks fantastic. I really love the twist that it's been taken on the game. But apparently, physical copies of Cyberpunk 2077 have been leaked. Sharing an image of a sealed copy of the game for PS4, Redditor Just Gonna Send It 90 claims they held one in their hands while working at Amazon. When asked if they could steal a copy, Just Gonna Send It 90 replied, "Thought about it, but it wasn't worth the risk. Lol." End quote. And so apparently, an Amazon worker actually did get his hands. I'm presuming it's a him, because I don't know why I'm presuming it's a him. Just Gonna Send It 90 sounds like some stupid shit a man would make up, and but I'm just gonna presume it is. Even grammar wise, the way it's worded here, just from my experience, women don't tend to say lol. If they say anything, it's either just giggling or saying XD. So that's just my perception of the situation. I'm probably digging a hole for myself right now. I'm definitely digging a hole for myself. But hey, already made the comment, might as well just go with it. But anyway, he did hold the game in his hand. There's a picture along with it. You can go look at Just Gonna Send It 90 on Reddit if you are interested in seeing the picture. Personally, if I was him, I would have just put it in my back pocket, bro. If you got a chance to play Cyberpunk, 90, Cyberpunk 2077, I definitely go for it. I think, though, that even if he did get it, I don't think the PlayStation would run it, though. Because sometimes it might have thought it was like a pre-order or something, so it mightn't have actually let him play it. I've had like that with a few games where I've got like physical copies of games like a few hours like before release, and it actually like didn't allow me to play it because it counted as a pre-order. So maybe even if he did get it, the console wouldn't play it. So it's all on that really as well. And plus, you're only getting a game like, that's worth $60. It's going to be out in a few months. You could lose your job, and like jobs are really rare at this point. So, from two standpoints, you could see it. If I was an adult, a proper like 30-year-old who thought about my job, I probably wouldn't have stolen it. So there's different sides to everything. But on to some more news, because we'll have Cyberpunk. I don't like to, say like loads of the same-ish news at once. We'll kind of split it up. The global mobile games market could exceed $102 billion in 3 years. Now, mobile gaming, it's not the most popular thing. I guess like it's the reason why it's where you got so far as it has right now. It's not because like mobiles are like the preferred gaming device. I think it's very different from that actually. I'd say it's simply just because when you're on the run or when you're on the go or when you're at work, you can't really have your gaming PC or console with you. So having a phone there to actually game is, it's quite handy just logistically. And I suppose that's one of the main reasons why the mobile gaming industry has soared to the extent it is right now. But apparently the global mobile games market could exceed $102 billion in 3 years. Now compared to some other gaming markets, like say like the console gaming market or the PC gaming market, it's not that big of a deal. Like some actual gaming companies are probably worth more than $102 billion. Although I would be very surprised if they are actually now saying that. It's 102 billion. 102 million maybe not, but either way. I was thinking about that. Rockstar's GTA 5 alone got 6 billion. So if you take account into like all the hits they've had, I don't think it's going to reach 102 billion. Though it's probably half of that at least. Getting back onto the whole point, anyway. In 3 years, it could exceed $102 billion. So keep an eye out in the mobile games industry because it's making leaps and it's making changes. Either way, going on to the creators of Hitman, a very non-mobile game, although I'm sure there's been attempts at creating it in mobile, just like everything else in this world. IO Interactive, who made Hitman and are making Hitman 3, they're actually making it for VR as well, which is a very exciting project that me and my friends are very excited for. Apparently they're making a James Bond game. And now, actually, I got an email about this. I didn't pay attention to it because I thought it was like some like Hitman thing, like they're gonna have like James Bond and Hitman. So I just like saw it. I was like, to swipe right. I'm not really bothered about it. It's only in my notifications. And then 2 days later, I read a news article on IO Interactive is making a James Bond game. I'm like, hold up, what's this? And apparently they are making a James Bond game. It's fully going ahead. Everything is in place for it. And personally, I'm quite excited about this. I've always kind of liked James Bond. I grew up watching James Bond. Like, James Bond was a spy I grew up watching, You thought of a spy, you didn't think of like an American badass like Keanu Reeves. I can't even say his name right. And like you do now, like John Wick and everything. But I thought of James Bond and Q and the gadgets they used to have and the baddies and the Bond girls, all that kind of stuff. And GoldenEye especially. I remember playing that at Gamerfest 18. They had a GoldenEye there. Remember sitting down and playing that for a solid 15-20 minutes. Either way, yeah, I am quite excited for a James Bond game. An actual. I don't mean to diss GoldenEye, okay, but the graphics, they weren't up to Red Dead standard. They certainly didn't have ray tracing. So ray tracing, it's actually quite good to see because a lot of games I've heard released this month alone have they've been promised ray tracing, and they have ray tracing some of them. So that's a very exciting prospect of having ray tracing in a James Bond game. Really, I don't know much about the concept. I don't know much about the missions. I don't know much about the protagonist. Who's it going to look like? Is it going to be like Daniel Craig, or is it just going to be? I believe they're having a new James Bond after the upcoming one. It's like the last Daniel Craig movie for James Bond. So I don't know. Maybe they'll base it on like the next James Bond, which I guess just for longevity would make sense in my opinion. There's no point in having Daniel Craig in a James Bond game when there's some other guy playing James Bond in the movies. It doesn't really make sense. And generally, games and movies haven't really mixed well. You look at, let's per se, the Assassin's Creed movie. It doesn't really shape up to the games. It got a lot of hate. The exact opposite of love, really. and that's just one of many time that the movie industry and the gaming industry just really didn't get on. And so I'm kind of hoping this will be a success. I'll probably pick up a copy myself, just to maybe test it out. But yeah, no, I'm optimistic about it. Definitely, I'm optimistic about it. And now moving on to, if you didn't want to buy the James Bond game, of course you'd go to YouTube and you'd look at a playthrough. And the next piece of news we have is actually on YouTube. YouTube will start showing ads on all videos regardless of monetization. So this is an interesting thing. Now, honestly, I think this is quite a bold choice by Susan Wawajak. I know that's not her second name, but I'm not going to bend over backwards to say a Polish name, and I also feel like Susan is just disrespectful because there's like 100 Susans out there, and I don't want a good Susan to get mixed in with the Susan that runs YouTube. If you haven't taken it already from this little monologue on this piece of news, I don't really like Susan, who runs YouTube, Susan Wawajak. And I generally don't like the people who lead YouTube. I don't like, the only part I really like about YouTube is the part that you don't really see, that's not really in the light, and that's a small part of YouTube. The imaginative creators, the guys at the top, I've a lot of opinions about YouTube. Actually, I'm not going to get into this at this time, but I feel like it's quite a bold choice from YouTube. Right now, they're getting a lot of hate. They've always got hate. It's been like a regular thing, like 2016. Really, if you don't take a shit on YouTube, then you're doing something wrong in your life. And now they're going to start showing ads in, like, people who aren't monetized, people who don't monetize their videos. And I feel like that is a bold choice. I also feel like it's going to sort of force creators who don't want to monetize their videos and don't want to show ads at the start of their videos, in the middle of their videos. It's going to force them to start doing that. And it's going to limit, content creators in that way. And I feel that is like the number one way that you're going to push off people like Pyrocynical, people like, I'm trying to think of other kind of YouTubers that are like major memeless. I'm just typing commentary YouTubers right now. For some reason my brain is just going blank. I feel like it's going to push them off the platform onto another platform. There's going to be a platform that's going to be released that will easily rival YouTube. For now, it's for a long time it's been YouTube and Twitch. I don't see people going over Twitch simply for the fact that its video side of things isn't that good. It specializes in streams as YouTube specializes in videos. And honestly, I'd say specializing is a very broad term. I just say, out of the whole shit pile they have, the less of the shit pile. And yeah, I just feel like this is a very bold choice that's going to first off push imaginative, creative content creators away, and second of all, it's going to piss off a lot of people. And generally, when you're running a company, the one thing you don't want to do is piss off people. Like, I'm no businessman, okay, so I dabble, okay, I dabble at best, but I feel like you shouldn't really be pissing off the people who the market you're advertising to, the consumers. I feel like that's quite a bold choice. And now, speaking of YouTube and Twitch, recently they have went on, what would I say, a Rambo kind of thing on copyrighted music and all that. And interesting that we talked about Cyberpunk 2077 earlier on, because we're going to be talking about it again. Apparently, Cyberpunk 2077 will allow players to toggle copyrighted music on and off. So if there's parts in the games that isn't copyrighted music, it'll play. But if there's parts in the games that's not... that is copyright music, it'll just turn off. And really, this has kind of surprised me a little bit, because a lot of people actually don't think this is a good idea. Which I feel like for streamers like myself, or for just general content creators who are doing walkthroughs, this is a very handy tool. But apparently a lot of people are just going like, you could maybe not have copyright music, which I feel is nearly impossible to ask in a AAA video game. I feel like this is a really handy feature. And honestly, it seems so simple. I don't know why other games haven't done it before. Because I'm actually watching Rad Brad right now play Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I've noticed in a few instances while the scene was playing music, and like it was indicated in the character's dialogue that there was music in the game, but you couldn't hear because the YouTuber had to turn it off so he wouldn't get a claim. Which I think, really simple solution. Just if it's copyrighted music, just not have it there, or maybe, replace it with something else. And I feel like this is a really simple solution, and it doesn't frustrate me. It just shocks me that no one has really come up with this yet. With all the great things the gaming industry has developed and produced and done, this is one of the most simple things, but it's going to make a huge difference in the gaming industry in that sense. So, I just thought that was quite interesting. That something like that would be introduced. Either way, we're going to be taking a small music break. If you haven't already, make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias, Twitter and Instagram at the Only Mradio, and Twitch and YouTube at Mradio. Next up, we have The Devil Went Down to Georgia by Charlie's Band.
Down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind and he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sewing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you'd care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle of gold against your soul because I think I'm better than you." The boy said, "My name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're gonna regret, cause I'm the best as ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, cause hell's broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul." opened up his case and he said, I'll start this show. And fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled the bow across the strings and it made an evil hiss. And then a band of demons joined in and it sounded something like this. When the devil finished, Johnny said, well, you're pretty good, old son, but sit down in that chair right there and let me show you how it's done. Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread pan, picking out dough. Granny, does your dog bite? No child knows. The devil bowed his head because he knew that he'd been beat, and he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. He played Fire on the Mountain, run, boys, run. Devil's in the house of the rising sun. The chicken in the bread pan, picking out dough. Granny, will your dog bite? No child knows.
If you love somebody, better tell them why they're here, 'cause they just may run away from you. You'll never know quite when, well, then again it just depends on how long the time is left for you. I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. You can have it all, but now keep moving. I'll take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. I've tried to cut these corners, tried to take the easy way out. I kept on falling short of something. I could have gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world.
That's one false step for man, one giant pursuit for mankind.
I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take me with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. And I know it's hard when you're falling down, and it's a long way up, and you make the ground, but get up now, get up.
That was On Top of the World, Imagine Dragons. Great band and a great song. And if you're into music anyhow, I'd recommend just checking out the rest of their songs because they are quite good. Either way, welcome back to the show. If you are just joining us, then once again, great to have you. And if you've been here for a while, welcome back once again. Welcome back after the music break. Just to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias, Twitter and Instagram at the Only Mradio, and YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. So when we were listening to music, I checked up on that email again that I got from IO Interactive about the James Bond, and apparently it's called Project 007. And it's a working title. It features a wholly original Bond story and will see players earn their 00 status in the very first James Bond origin story, combining 20 years of developing games with the iconic legacy of James Bond. Is a monumental opportunity for us to craft the most ambitious game in the history of our studio. Now, I don't know if that's true. You've done some pretty ambitious games, IO. But that is the full story on that. So if you want to learn more about that James Bond game, look at IO Interactive, look at their social medias, and you'll be able to learn a little bit more that way. Either way, if you're joining us back now, we're going to be talking about the Warner Bros. Yes, that's right, the movie studio. And apparently their VP, the vice president, says Watch Dogs did as much for Stormzy as Bond has for Billy Eilish. Yes, Eilish. Sorry, I'm not really a big fan of Billie Eilish. I know I'm gonna get hate on me. Okay, I know that. It's just I never really clicked with her music. Okay, and I guess that's my fault. So sorry about that, everybody. I just never really clicked the music. That's my fault. But apparently, and what he's saying here is that the video game industry is doing as much for artists these days as kind of the movie industry is doing for music artists. So it's saying that. And Watch Dogs did a lot for Stormzy, and Billy Bond did a lot for Billy Eilish. So it's just saying that it's games are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that more music artists should kind of use games as an outlet for their creativity. Either way, getting away from Watch Dogs, another very similar game, GTA. GTA Online's next heist arrives December 15. Interesting fact. I think that's 3 days before my birthday, so that's going to be a nice surprise. It takes you to an island paradise, Cayo Picarillo, and basically, you just do a big heist in the island. I don't know if you expected anything different than a heist, but it's a heist. I don't know if you can live on the island and go to the island. I don't know about that one. If you could do that though, that'd be pretty badass. I don't know if you can though, so that's another bummer right there. Anywho's, getting away from that subject, because I don't want to talk about it too much. If you are actually interested into it, please, by all means, go check out the 80% YouTube channel, and you can check out my full review of it there. Either way, the managing director of Ubisoft Skull and Bones, which is being awaited right now, people are very much awaiting that. It's been 2 years now since the trailer has dropped, and we've got very, very little information. But he has been fired from his position. That's probably going to put Skulls and Bones in the backtrack for another while. We didn't really expect anything different, and same old. But for any people interested in the Skulls and Bones game, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to wait a little bit longer. So, 'tis sad, but as Shakespeare says, it is but a scratch in my ego. And he didn't have the ego part, I thought I might improvise. God loves an improviser. Now, Twitch is getting fired upon this week. We were talking about YouTube getting fired on, or we're talking about YouTube getting fired upon in the future. Twitch are getting fired on right now. Twitch is criticized over its exploitive affiliate fast track scheme, and basically this is about Twitch has been accused of exploiting its current DMCA struggles via a new partnership with the music label Monstercat, one that grants a shortcut to affiliate status for $5 a month. Basically what this is meaning, you pay $5 a month, you get to become an affiliate faster instead of having to work for it like most people do, like getting 50 followers, an average of 3 viewers, and per se. Instead, just pay money and you can get right where, you know, most people struggle for months on. I know I struggle for a very long time simply just getting the average viewers because I stream a lot, so, you know, not everyone can be there for all my streams, and I kind of just, you know, struggle. I was on literally like 70 followers by the time I got my affiliate. Most people are around 50, so it took me a little bit longer, but Twitch is getting rained upon. Not too surprised with that one. I don't know who made that decision at Twitch, but, you know, obviously some brain cells were missing when, you know, that decision was made, and now they're paying the price of it. Talking about prices, if you have bought Sea of Thieves recently, you can look forward to its biggest year yet in 2021. Rare promises and a lot of ongoing support for the private sim. So apparently the game has made, you know, one of very few rare promises. It never really makes promises, but apparently 2021 is going to be the year for Sea of Thieves. Luckily I picked it up on Xbox, but I probably am going to sell my Xbox, so I'll probably have to get it on PC. And this is going to be a big year for it, which I'm excited for it. And it's got a lot of support lately, and yeah, looks all good for Sea of Thieves, which is, you know, I thought it was an enjoyable game. I thought it was one of those games that, you know, you'd kind of have to play for your mates, you know, to kind of feel really the full experience of it, since it's not really like, you know, it's a good game on your own, but it's built for your mates, you know, that's just what it is. We talked about earlier in the show about a TV show, and how TV shows never really mix with games and all that. Well, apparently HBO's Last of Us series, yes, you heard me, HBO's The Last of Us TV show is actually happening. Last of Us 2, it wasn't enough of a disaster for HBO, so they had to go make a TV program about the great disaster of Last of Us 2. If you haven't picked up already, I'm not a huge fan of Last of Us 2. And if you haven't already picked, I'm not going to go into it, okay? But HBO have confirmed this when they might get cancelled still. You know, a lot of these programs, they get cancelled mid filming and mid shooting, and so that's still like an opportunity. I really don't want this to go ahead simply because I felt like Last of Us 1 was such a masterpiece. I don't think it needed a follow-up. It was a beautiful, beautiful game, and although I would have appreciated follow-up, I would totally understand if they didn't do a follow-up. Because something perfect, it's just perfect. You know, that's just the way it is. I'm like closing my eyes now, just thinking about it. I've practically fell asleep here, just saying how perfect it is. The facts of stand for Last of Us 2 is it's a mess. Story wise, the story treads all over the place. Doesn't make any sense. You're switching from characters every 10 minutes. And to be more accurate, you're switching from characters every like 2 hours. And then the final, I'm not going to get into the final scene, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like you're playing. It's like, you know how games have puzzles. You know, like a lot of games have puzzles, like Detroit Become Human. That had puzzles, but those were fun puzzles. But Last of Us 2, it's like just following the simple storyline about who is a puzzle. You know, the first 2 hours, it's fairly simple to pick up. You kind of get it. But I'm sorry, it's just too complicated, and then something happens, and the whole game is just ruined. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, I'm trying my best here, boys, but the game just frustrates me so much. Who knew in episode 12 we'd finally break and talk about The Last of Us? It's such a perfect game, and then they decided to do a second one, and some people did like the second one. I know a few people who liked the second one. The second one just wasn't for me, okay? It just wasn't for me, you know. And personally, I feel like GTA 5 should have won Game of the Year that year. But I'm not sore about that, okay? I don't hold that against them. Either way, let's get away from Last of Us, because it truly is making me mad and quite tired. Twitch co-founder Kevin Lin has left the company after 13 years with Twitch. Lin announced his departure in a social media post, which is, you know, that's how he announced it to us. I'm sure he did it more professional to the Twitch board. But he was the co-founder of the company. You know, if I was a co-founder of that company, I'd be making some changes. You know, that's my opinion. But yeah, the co-founder has now left the company, which is, you know, sad. But maybe this might have the impact that the board needs to make some much-needed changes around the company. Changing, you know, basically, was it microtransactions with an IRL? that should be a meme. Someone, if anyone here is a Reddit meme, or just make that into a meme, you know. Just go on, you know you want to do it. Either way, our last bit of Cyberpunk news is how long is Cyberpunk 2077? This is actually a question was asked a few weeks ago, and I couldn't answer it. But how long is Cyberpunk 2077? A stealth playthrough has taken a Q&A tester over 175 hours. Now that's quite a lot of hours. That's weeks and weeks and weeks. But that's not the craziest thing. The craziest thing is it's still going. Yes. The craziest thing isn't that it took 175 hours. The craziest thing is it's still going. Like, that's just a stealth playthrough. I'm sure if you do like a whole genocide run, you get it done maybe like, a few less hours. But that's like just goddamn crazy. Like, we know that, Cyberpunk has been worked on for, somewhat of a long time. But 175 hours? Like, that's just crazy. Like, Spider-Man, like, to collect all the collectibles and everything, like, it wasn't even meant to take like 100 hours. Like, it's like some AAA games don't even take like 100 hours. Like, I know the storyline for Watch Dogs Legion was meant to take like 30, 40 hours, and then you got some side missions, collectibles. You're definitely not going to make it up to 100 hours in there. Although when multiplayer is added, that's probably going to change. The fact still stands: for single player in a stealth playthrough for just the story, 175 hours, and it's still going. That is crazy. That's just crazy to have that much, jam packed in. Now, from what I know, it's not like your normal game. I feel like a lot of it is like random generated code that they've put in, because there's like loads of different outcomes and a lot of different storylines, and honestly, they've probably got a huge team working on it. But the fact still stands. That is very impressive. Either way, we're going to take another quick music break. If you have enjoyed the show so far, make sure to go check out Mradio on all different social medias, Twitter and Instagram at the Only Mradio, on YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. We'll be right back. Up next, The Chain.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, heart is pumping as the battle gets closer. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming out, we can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, knocking out bodies, standing on top like a champion. Keep your silver, give me that gold. You'll remember when I say we can be heroes everywhere we go. Keeping us down is impossible, 'cause we're unstoppable. Oh, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Every spotlight, every soundbite, everybody who gave up is just a fuel for wanting him more than anybody against us. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming now, we can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, knocking out bodies, standing on top like a champion. Keep your silver, give me that gold. You'll remember when I say we can be heroes everywhere we go. Keeping us down is impossible, 'cause we're unstoppable. Oh, we're unstoppable. Oh, we're unstoppable. They can say what they want now. We'll be screaming out. We can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, knocking out bodies, standing on top like a champion. Keep your silver, give me that gold. You'll remember when I say we can be heroes everywhere we go. Keeping us down is impossible. We're unstoppable. Oh, 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 we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable.
That was Unstoppable by the great band The Score. They've actually got some pretty ones. I remember pretty good songs. I was watching and listening, actually, not watching music. You can't really watch music unless it's a music video. I was listening to The Score and their song The Legend, which I think is also very good. Before I ramble into another little segment there, just, I'd say if you are looking for a decent enough band and you don't want to overextend your look, I'd say looking into people like The Score, everyone you know, who else would there really be that's kind of fresh, young kind of band. I guess I would definitely recommend The Score and everyone you know. I think they're really good bands. Sorry, I'm repositioning myself so the mic must sound really, really weird. I'm like really close up to it now. I'm kind of far away. Either way, for our last segment, because we are just 4 minutes out from our show time ending, and do not worry, because there will be another show after this one at 9:30. We're going to be talking about the Cyberpunk 2077. I know we said the last news snippet, but this time we're going to be talking about whether personally I'm going to be buying the game, what my opinions are in the game, and so forth, so forth. Sorry, I had to take a little bit of a cough there. Personally, I am going to be getting the Cyberpunk 2077 game. Well, that's what I think, to be honest, because I think if I didn't get it, I'd definitely regret it, simply because there was a leaked map. It's not like a huge map. I'd say it's fairly close to the size of GTA 5 now. I don't know what ratio the map was in, so it could be, you know, way bigger than GTA 5. The ratio could be all off. But I saw just a normal map size, and like, you know, just map to map, like GTA 5 Los Santos looked bigger. I mean, San Andreas, Los Santos is the city. But personally, I'm actually quite excited for it because I feel like the way that they've laid out the story. A lot of the time I buy a game, it's simply for the story because, as I said to my friend the other day, I'm just guilty for loving the story. You know, I'm just a story lover. It's just me inside out. If it has a good story, you can near guarantee that I'll be getting it. But personally, I think I really like kind of the 4 different factions and the 4 different routes you can take as a story in Cyberpunk 2077. And I'd say if I didn't get it, I'd definitely regret it. And I'd say it is probably a must buy, and I can see why people are very disappointed about not being able to get their hands on the game. Either way, that is going to wrap us up. If you have enjoyed the show and you want to listen to more shows, please stay tuned to either our Twitter or our Discord. That's mostly where we make the show announcements on, you know, what shows are coming out and what shows are not coming out. If you want to be able to go into the Discord, all you have to do is the HTTPS and then, you know, obviously dash, you know, the normal dash discord.gg/EZS8H capital H lowercase f, and you can come on into the Discord and check out our social medias and so forth. I have been Mr. San Andreas here with you today. Make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias. Stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic